When humanity entered the war, victory took only 5 hours. The command room is thick with tension. Alien coalition officers stand motionless, all attention focused on General Corvo. Corvo, stern and experienced, reads aloud a message displayed on the central holographic screen. His voice carries disbelief, echoing across the room. General Corvo, the humans, these creatures we've known as mere onlookers and scholars, have just joined the galactic conflict. Humanity has declared its place in this war. An uneasy silence follows. The officers exchange glances, some uneasy, others skeptical. One younger officer, pale and clearly doubtful, steps forward. Junior Officer Kaler. General, could this be an error? Humans, they were never warriors, only observers. They're hardly prepared for a conflict of this scale. Corvo's expression hardens as he responds, his voice showing no tolerance for underestimating their new foe. General Corvo, Kaler, do not dismiss them. Humans may seem trivial, but they have shown adaptability and resilience. Recall the incident on Terova? They drove out the Zerka forces on their own, and they did so swiftly. A murmur runs through the assembled officers, their memory of Terova stirring uncertainty. They shift uneasily, glancing back at the display, where flashing indicators reveal human ships approaching. Corvo's gaze stays fixed, analyzing every detail of the incoming fleet. General Corvo, what strategy could they have prepared? A voice from a communications officer breaks the silence, calm but edged with curiosity. Communications Officer Drek. General, the human fleet is moving into position, but they're ignoring our established callouts. They're arranging themselves in a formation of their own. General Corvo, bring it up on the main display. The view shifts, revealing the human fleet's unusual layout. Unlike the coalition's orderly formation, the human ships are spread in a loosely organized pattern, with larger ships positioned at the edges. Alien commanders observe with growing confusion. Captain Zephyr, what could they be thinking? That formation has no structure, it lacks order. Corvo studies the layout closely, a hint of understanding dawning on him. General Corvo, not disorder, it's adaptive. They're adjusting as they go, probing for our weaknesses. Uneasy glances spread through the command room. Sensing the rising tension, Corvo's voice grows firmer, steadying his officers. General Corvo, do not let them shake you. Our defenses are strong. Prepare an attack. Show them we will not be swayed by unexpected tactics. The coalition officers respond quickly, activating weapon systems. The display shows the human fleet pressing forward, undeterred. The coalition forces launch their first attack, a wave of energy directed at the human ships. Their defenses pulse in response, absorbing much of the impact, with only minor breaches appearing in their formation. Captain Zephyr, how are they holding up against that? Corvo's face hardens as he watches the humans' defenses withstand the assault. General Corvo, humans are shaped by adversity. It seems they've learned to turn even our strength against us. A sudden hush falls over the room as the human fleet responds, a series of precise, carefully aimed strikes at key coalition ships. Explosions flare across the display as each attack hits a vulnerable point. The alien commanders react, horrified by the accuracy of the human assault. Communications Officer Drek. It's as if they know exactly where to strike. General Corvo's eyes narrow, recognizing the gravity of their situation. He clenches his fists, his voice low and steady as he addresses the room. General Corvo. No, Drek, they are adjusting with each move. They're learning as they fight, adapting to us in real time. The officers watch, unsettled, as the tide of battle turns slowly but surely in humanity's favor. Each coalition ship is systematically neutralized, their fleet showing gaps and weaknesses as the humans push forward with unwavering precision. General Corvo, they didn't come here to fail, and we were fools to think they would. The scene concludes with the human fleet advancing, the coalition forces beginning to fall into disarray, and a deepening silence settling over the command room as defeat becomes inevitable. The observation deck is dimly lit, casting shadows across the faces of high-ranking coalition commanders. They stand around the main display, their focus set on the approaching human fleet. Among them is Commander Morak, a veteran with a well-earned reputation for his hard-nosed perspective. His scaled face shows a hint of amusement as he watches the human ships draw closer. Commander Morak. Look at them, small, unremarkable vessels, made of little more than scrap and primitive alloys. And these humans believe they can sway the course of this war. A few officers exchange smirks, clearly sharing Morak's disdain. The display zooms in, revealing the simple, rugged designs of the human ships. Bare metal, exposed frames, lacking the sleek elegance of coalition technology. Morak leans closer, his eyes narrowing with an expression of mild contempt. Commander Morak. These are not warships. They're little more than transport vessels with a few guns strapped on. If this is humanity's idea of strength, I wonder how they survived even on their own planet. One of Morak's subordinates, Officer Zarin, chuckles quietly, shaking his head in agreement. His tone carries the same condescension as his superiors. Officer Zarin. Perhaps they were desperate for attention, hoping to be noticed in the great galaxy. A species with no real understanding of what awaits them. Another commander, Tarek, steps forward, his gaze fixed on the human fleet. While he remains skeptical, his expression holds a trace of curiosity. Commander Tarek. Be cautious, Morak. Desperation can drive a species to unpredictable ends. It would be unwise to dismiss them entirely, despite their lack of refinement. Commander Morak. Please, Tarek. These ships wouldn't last a full cycle against a coalition scout fleet, let alone our battle-ready forces. They've arrived in a storm far beyond their control. The officers around him nod, confident in their assessment. Morak leans back, crossing his arms, clearly unimpressed. The display zooms out to show the human fleet holding formation, their ships positioned in a seemingly random but steady pattern. Commander Morak. They don't even have a proper formation. No discipline, no order. It's us. A tactical officer steps forward, concern evident in his expression as he addresses Morak. Tactical Officer Varek. General Corvo mentioned they adapted quickly during the incident on Terova. There's a chance they've come prepared, sir. Commander Morak. Terova was a fluke. The Zerka were careless, and these humans were merely lucky. A one-time event. The tension in the room heightens as Commander Morak's irritation grows. He's visibly bothered by the suggestion that humans might pose a threat. Another commander, Shira, steps forward, her expression thoughtful as she watches the human ships. Commander Shira. They may be under-resourced, but they aren't reckless. Look how they hold steady even as our fleet surrounds them. Either they're fools, or they truly believe they have a chance. Morak scoffs, rolling his eyes. He straightens, standing tall and confident, a hint of defiance in his stance. Commander Morak. They are fools, Shira. Fools who have walked into a battle they cannot hope to win. Their pride will be their downfall. He gestures dismissively toward the human fleet on the display. The coalition officers around him nod, clearly in agreement, their confidence solidified by Morak's words. Yet, beneath the confidence, there's a subtle unease growing among the officers who recall the Terova incident. Commander Tarek. Then why don't they waver? Not a single ship has broken formation, despite being surrounded. The room grows silent as Tarek's observation sinks in. Even Commander Morak falls quiet, his brow furrowing as he watches the display. The human fleet holds its position unmoving, as if waiting for the coalition's next move. Morak's irritation gives way to a flicker of doubt, though he quickly suppresses it. Commander Morak. They're only holding steady out of ignorance. They don't understand what they face. A low hum fills the room as the Coalition fleet's systems come online, readying for the assault. The tactical display shows the Coalition's forces tightening around the human fleet, cutting off any potential retreat. The officers stand in silence, watching the display with a mix of excitement and impatience. Yet Commander Shira continues to observe, her gaze fixed on the human ships with a hint of suspicion. Commander Shira, if they were ignorant, would they stand so still? They must know they're outmatched, so why don't they fall back? Her question lingers, unsettling a few officers. Morak clenches his jaw, unwilling to acknowledge her doubts. Commander Morak, perhaps they're merely stubborn, unable to grasp the futility of their actions. Let them stand and watch as we erase them from this battle. A low beep sounds from the main display, indicating the Coalition's readiness to strike. Morak steps forward, a proud and satisfied smirk crossing his face as he gives the order. Commander Morak, all forces prepare to engage. Show them the strength of the Coalition. This display of arrogance ends here. The Coalition fleet begins its approach, moving in on the human ships from multiple directions. Morak's smirk widens, satisfaction clear in his expression as he watches the human ships brace for impact. Commander Morak, this is the end of humanity's bold interference in matters they cannot hope to understand. A murmur of agreement echoes through the room. The officers watch in eager anticipation, their eyes fixed on the human fleet, certain of a quick victory. But Shira's gaze remains steady, her expression thoughtful as she quietly observes the human's response. Commander Shira, perhaps we're the ones who don't understand. Her words go unnoticed by Morak, who is too focused on the approaching battle. The display shows the Coalition ships closing in, the human fleet surrounded. Morak stands tall, confident that humanity's role in the war will be brief and forgettable. Yet, as the first shots are exchanged, there's a faint glimmer of realization that maybe, just maybe, he's underestimated them. The atmosphere is tense as the Coalition commanders observe the battle unfolding on the central display. The human fleet, though smaller and less technologically advanced by appearances, begins demonstrating precision in their tactics that quickly disrupts the Coalition's coordinated assault. A series of blips on the display show Coalition vessels faltering or losing control. Commander Morak, what's happening? Why are our ships falling out of formation? A tactical officer's hands fly over the controls, desperately analyzing the data pouring in. His expression shifts to one of shock as he scans the reports. Tactical Officer Varric, Commander, it appears the humans are targeting critical systems with pinpoint accuracy. Each strike is cutting off specific controls and power sources. They're shutting us down before we can even engage. Commander Tarek, now watching with a growing sense of dread, clenches his fists as he observes the human ships adjust their aim with unsettling precision. Commander Tarek, they're not just shooting blindly, they know exactly where to strike. They're disabling us systematically. The Coalition officers exchange uneasy glances. The main display flickers as another wave of human attacks lands precisely on shield generators and engines of Coalition ships, effectively immobilizing them. Commander Morak's confidence begins to waver, though he fights to maintain control. Commander Morak, impossible. They lack the intelligence to analyze our systems. They're just lucky. Commander Shira, standing off to the side, watches the human fleet with a mix of awe and suspicion. She steps forward, her voice steady yet filled with concern. Commander Shira, Commander, this isn't luck. These attacks are too specific, too controlled. It's as if they've studied us, as if they understand our vulnerabilities better than we understand theirs. Morak waves her off, refusing to acknowledge her point. His tone is filled with frustration. Commander Morak, they can't possibly know our systems. Our technology is leagues beyond their primitive crafts. But as he speaks, the display flickers again, showing human ships releasing strange bursts of electromagnetic pulses. Coalition vessels closest to the blasts experience power fluctuations, lights dimming and screens glitching as the humans employ electronic warfare. Panic begins to spread among the coalition commanders. Communications Officer Drek. Sir, we're detecting signal interference. They're disrupting our communications and radar systems. We can't track their movements accurately. The display shows coalition ships struggling as human interference scrambles their readings and responses. Commander Tarek, his composure breaking, turns to Morak with a desperate expression. Commander Tarek, they're cutting off our ability to communicate. If they isolate us, we'll be sitting targets. Morak's face tightens as he realizes the severity of the situation. He turns back to the display, his voice losing its previous confidence. Commander Morak, how could they have developed this technology without us knowing? Shira steps forward, her tone grim but calm as she tries to ground her fellow commanders. Commander Shira, perhaps they adapted it from observing us. They've proven resourceful. What we see as weakness may be their strength. Her words resonate, casting an unsettling quiet over the room. Morak, clearly shaken, watches the human ships continue their calculated assault, his disbelief giving way to growing fear. Commander Morak, so we're dealing with a fleet that learns, a species that studies us and turns our own advantages against us. The display flickers again as the human fleet launches another coordinated strike, this time focusing on ammunition reserves aboard coalition ships. Explosions light up the screen as munitions detonations cascade through several vessels. Officers flinch, and some take involuntary steps back from the display, horrified by the destructive precision of the human strategy. Tactical Officer Varek. They're attacking our stockpiles, they're disabling our weapons. It's as if they know exactly where to hit us. A heavy silence settles in the war room as the commanders watch their forces falter under humanity's relentless, calculated assault. Commander Morak, his face ashen, stares at the display, his voice almost a murmur. Commander Morak, are we truly this vulnerable to them? Shira, with a steady gaze fixed on the human ships, breaks the silence with a grim conclusion. Commander Shira, perhaps they're not the ones unprepared for this war. They've come with a strategy, a knowledge we sorely underestimated. The display flickers again, showing a coalition ship losing power completely, drifting defenseless in the black void as human ships advance, taking advantage of every gap and vulnerability in the coalition's ranks. Shira turns to Morak, who appears lost in thought, his confidence shattered. Commander Shira, Commander, we need to adapt, or this will be over before we realize what happened. Morak snaps out of his stupor, finally grasping the urgency. His tone is sharper, but laced with the undeniable edge of fear. Commander Morak, alert all divisions. Shift to defensive measures. If they can disable us, we must fortify. As the commands echo through the room, the coalition officers scramble to relay orders. But the display shows another wave of human ships breaking through the defenses, maneuvering with remarkable precision. Morak's desperation is evident as he watches, realization settling in that humanity has come prepared in ways he hadn't foreseen. Communications Officer Drek. They're more than we expected. The other commanders are silent, each struggling with the growing reality of their predicament. The humans, once dismissed as primitive and outmatched, have taken control of the battlefield. The coalition forces are scattered, their responses hindered by disrupted communications and immobilized ships. Commander Tarek, what manner of strategy is this? They fight like they have no fear, no hesitation. Shira stands silently, her expression steely as she continues to observe. The others, lost in shock, look to her as the only voice of reason in the room. Commander Shira, they're fighting to survive. We treated them like a passing inconvenience, but they've come here to finish this, not just take part. Her words settle heavily on the room, shifting the mood from frustration to a solemn understanding of what they're facing. Morak watches the display, his expression haunted as he finally acknowledges the truth. Commander Morak, we underestimated them. This isn't a simple battle. It's something far greater. The war room is silent, the coalition commanders transfixed by the unfolding scene on the main display. The human fleet, once dismissed as disorganized and underprepared, moves with unnerving precision and purpose. Alien commanders, who once scoffed at humanity, now stand frozen, their expressions a mix of shock and awe. General Corvo, at the center of the room, watches in silence, his face a study in disbelief as he tries to comprehend humanity's sudden rise in the battlefield. General Corvo, what kind of warriors are these humans? No one answers. The commanders stand in silence, watching the human ships navigate with uncanny accuracy, weaving through coalition defenses, predicting movements with unsettling ease. Commander Morak, who had been so dismissive before, stares at the display, his usual arrogance stripped away, replaced by an uncharacteristic fear. Commander Morak, it's as if they're everywhere at once. No matter where we strike, they're already there, anticipating countering. Commander Shira, who had always harbored some respect for humanity's resourcefulness, watches with wide eyes. She steps closer to the display, her voice filled with a newfound respect, almost awe. Commander Shira, they adapt faster than any species I've ever seen. Each move they make seems to predict our next step. We have nothing that counters this level of strategy. General Corvo's eyes narrow as he watches the humans pull off another precisely timed maneuver, effectively flanking a coalition ship and disabling it within seconds. He shakes his head slowly, muttering to himself, General Corvo, they aren't just reacting, they're orchestrating every part of this battle. I've seen experienced fleets fail where these humans succeed without hesitation. The display flickers, showing a human ship performing a complex evasion move, slipping through an array of coalition fire without a single hit. The alien commanders exchange anxious glances. Commander Tarek, visibly shaken, speaks up, his voice laced with disbelief. Commander Tarek, they're fearless. Every ship, every maneuver, it's as if they've transcended normal limitations. General Corvo stands still, his gaze fixed on the human fleet as they execute yet another coordinated attack, perfectly synchronized and efficient. The display shows coalition ships scattering, unable to withstand the relentless assault. Corvo clenches his fists, realizing the inevitable outcome. General Corvo, they fight like they've already won. An uneasy silence spreads across the room as Corvo's words settle in. The alien commanders, once confident in their technological superiority, now feel small, almost helpless, against this fierce and calculated enemy. Communications Officer Drek, usually calm, breaks the silence, his voice barely a whisper. Communications Officer Drek, we assumed we'd face a simple fleet, but this is something else entirely. They command the battlefield as if they've fought these battles 1,000 times. Commander Shira nods in agreement, her gaze never leaving the display. Her expression is one of both awe and resignation, as if she's witnessing a force beyond her understanding. Commander Shira, they've turned every weakness we thought they had into an advantage. Every limitation we saw has become their strength. A soft murmur of agreement ripples through the room. Even Morak, who had once mocked the humans, now stands in silence, his pride thoroughly shattered. His gaze is distant, his mind reeling as he comes to terms with the reality before him. Commander Morak, who are these creatures? To fight with such skill, such purpose? General Corvo, now visibly moved, takes a deep breath, his voice solemn as he addresses the room. General Corvo, we underestimated them, dismissed them as naive explorers. But what we face here is a force of true warriors, forged by a struggle we failed to understand. The coalition commanders shift uncomfortably, grappling with the stark truth in Corvo's words. They had entered this battle with overconfidence, but the humans have unraveled every plan, every strategy they held dear. Commander Tarek's eyes fill with a deep unease as he speaks, his tone a reflection of the dread settling over them all. Commander Tarek, if they're capable of this, then what else have we misjudged? How much more do they know that we don't? The commanders fall silent, realizing that their assumptions about humanity were not just incorrect, but dangerously naive. Their enemy, once considered primitive, has displayed a level of expertise that leaves the coalition's finest strategists questioning everything they believed about war. The display flickers, showing another human ship taking down a coalition vessel with terrifying efficiency. General Corvo's eyes narrow as he speaks, his voice carrying the weight of a reluctant truth. General Corvo, their warriors more skilled, more focused than any I've seen. They do not fight for glory. They fight as if there is no alternative. The alien commanders exchange looks, each struggling with a mix of awe, fear, and respect. The reality of humanity's power has sunk in, and it has left them shaken to their core. Shira, the first to suspect humanity's hidden strength, takes a deep breath, voicing a thought none dared to consider before. Commander Shira, we cannot defeat them if we continue to fight as we always have. If we wish to survive, we must change everything we know about war. Her words resonate through the room, a sobering call to action that stirs something deep within the commanders. Yet, despite Shira's resolve, the air remains heavy with doubt. Commander Morak, still grappling with the shift in power, glances at Corvo, his face pale. Commander Morak, can we truly hold our ground against them? General Corvo's gaze remains on the display, his expression solemn. He speaks with a calm, almost resigned tone. General Corvo, we will have to try, but make no mistake, this is no ordinary enemy. Humanity has shown us their strength. Now we must face it, or fall. The room falls silent as the weight of Corvo's words settles over them. The coalition commanders, once certain of victory, now stand in awe and fear, staring at the display as humanity's forces continue their relentless, calculated advance. The battle has shifted, and with it, the very nature of their understanding of war. The coalition war room is thick with tension, filled with commanders who have just witnessed humanity's unrelenting assault. The alien commanders stand silent, processing the damage done by the human fleet, their disbelief morphing into grim realization. General Corvo, still shaken, steps forward to open a line of communication with the human fleet, desperate to understand what he's facing. He signals his communications officer to open a channel. Communications Officer Drek. Channel open, General. We have a direct link to the human command ship. The holographic display in the center of the room flickers, and a human officer materializes, a tall, calm figure in a simple uniform, standing straight with an expression of complete composure. The alien commanders exchange uneasy glances, taken aback by the human's confident demeanor. General Corvo steps forward to address the human officer. General Corvo, you human, I am General Corvo of the Coalition Forces. We seek an explanation. What are you doing here in our territory? What purpose drives you? The human officer, identified as Lieutenant Commander Jameson, nods politely, showing no sign of distress or concern. His tone is calm, almost detached, as he addresses the Coalition's highest-ranking officials. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, I am Lieutenant Commander Jameson of the United Earth Fleet. We are here to eliminate any threats that would compromise humanity's safety and survival. That objective is absolute. A murmur ripples through the alien commanders, unsettled by Jameson's unwavering tone. Commander Morak, visibly rattled, steps forward, unable to hide his irritation and disbelief. Commander Morak, eliminate threats? You think your small, mismatched fleet can stand against the Coalition? You're just newcomers, explorers. You don't even belong here. Jameson's expression remains unchanged. He listens patiently, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with Morak's growing frustration. After a pause, he replies, his tone firm yet unaggressive. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, we have no desire to belong here. Our objective is not conquest or expansion. Humanity seeks only to ensure its own survival. We have observed your activities, calculated the risks, and determined that intervention is necessary to maintain our security. General Corvo narrows his eyes, studying Jameson intently. He steps forward, trying to find any trace of arrogance or doubt in the human's calm expression. General Corvo, intervention? You come here with no intention to conquer, yet you wage war with a force unmatched by many. What exactly drives you to this extreme? Jameson meets Corvo's gaze directly, his tone as steady as ever. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, our approach to conflict is straightforward, General. We analyze, adapt, and act without hesitation. When faced with a threat, we respond decisively, sparing no resource to ensure our survival. This is not a display of power. It is a necessity. Commander Shira, watching the interaction closely, senses a deeper conviction in Jameson's words. She steps forward, her voice softened with a hint of respect, but her face still lined with shock. Commander Shira, you fight as though you've been preparing for this all along. Yet we've seen your world, isolated, inexperienced in galactic warfare. Where does this precision come from? Jameson takes a brief pause, as if carefully choosing his words. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, humanity has faced countless struggles on our own world, conflicts that forced us to refine our approach to survival. We may lack experience in galactic warfare, but our history is marked by adaptation under pressure, by learning quickly and acting without delay. The alien commanders exchange uneasy glances, grasping the weight of Jameson's words. Commander Tarek, visibly shaken, speaks up, his voice barely masking his fear. Commander Tarek, you speak of survival as if it's a constant battle, as if it's all you know. Jameson's face remains neutral, but his tone takes on a subtle edge of seriousness. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, for humanity, survival has never been a guarantee. We live knowing that every action, every choice, could determine our fate. This is what drives our strategies and fuels our resilience. Against any threat, we do not hesitate, nor do we negotiate our safety. Commander Morak's face twists with frustration, still struggling to understand the human's resolve. He takes a step forward, his tone challenging. Commander Morak, so you rely on ruthlessness, on cold calculation. Is that your only tactic? Jameson's expression remains unchanged, though his gaze sharpens slightly. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, it's not ruthlessness, Commander, it's efficiency. We waste no time, no resources. Every maneuver is calculated, every strike serves a purpose. We've learned that in war, hesitation and doubt are fatal. A tense silence fills the room as the alien commanders process his words. They're struck by the human's methodical approach, something that feels unsettlingly different from their own tactics. General Corvo, a veteran commander, watches Jameson with a newfound respect and wariness. General Corvo, you're calm, it's unnerving. Most warriors feel fear or even pride, but you seem almost detached from this battle. Jameson meets Corvo's gaze, his tone still composed, but with a hint of underlying steel. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, emotion has its place, General, but in matters of survival, clarity is paramount. This isn't personal for us. We act as required with one goal: end any threat before it endangers us. And we do so without second-guessing. Shira, who has been listening intently, looks at Jameson with a mixture of awe and discomfort. She turns to her fellow commanders, her voice barely above a whisper. Commander Shira, this is why they've overwhelmed us. They approach war as if it's simply another task, a problem to solve, without hesitation. Corvo nods slowly, realization dawning on him as he understands the essence of humanity's strategy. He turns back to Jameson, his voice calm but laced with reluctant admiration. "General Corvo, you speak as if you've removed every barrier, every limitation that other species carry into battle. You've weaponized certainty." Jameson acknowledges Corvo's words with a slight nod. "Lieutenant Commander Jameson, in war, any hesitation costs lives. This is our truth. We did not choose to fight you, but we will finish this if it means securing peace for our people." A heavy silence fills the war room as Jameson's words settle over the alien commanders. They realize that this human, this seemingly emotionless officer, embodies a commitment and focus that they cannot match. Morak, who had dismissed the humans initially, now stares at Jameson, visibly shaken. "Commander Morak, and we thought you were simply explorers." Jameson's expression remains unchanged as he responds. "Lieutenant Commander Jameson, we were explorers once, but in a galaxy full of unknowns, survival is our only certainty. That is why we're here." The transmission cuts, leaving the coalition commanders in a stunned silence. They exchange glances, each one visibly affected by Jameson's words, understanding for the first time that they are not merely facing a fleet. They are facing a relentless will, a species that fights with the same certainty they breathe. "Commander Shira, they are unlike any force we've encountered." General Corvo stands silently, his expression grim but resolute. He knows that his forces are unprepared for such an adversary, but he also realizes they have no choice but to face the truth. "General Corvo, humanity fights as though their very existence is on the line, and perhaps that is what makes them undefeatable." The scene ends with the coalition commanders standing in quiet contemplation, understanding that they are now up against not just a fleet, but a force driven by an unbreakable will to survive. The war room is filled with a tense, almost oppressive silence. The alien commanders watch in disbelief as their forces collapse, one by one, under the relentless precision of humanity's final assault. The display shows the human fleet advancing without hesitation, each maneuver executed with surgical accuracy. Coalition ships, scattered and struggling, flicker on the screen, some damaged beyond repair, others drifting helplessly in space. "General Corvo, this is the end?" No one replies. The alien commanders stand in silence, their expressions a mix of shock, disbelief, and a growing sense of inevitability. Commander Morak, who had once dismissed humanity as weak, stares at the display, his face ashen. "Commander Morak, no, this cannot be. We are the coalition. We've dominated every enemy we've ever faced." Commander Shira watches the display, her expression one of quiet resignation. She steps forward, breaking the silence, her voice calm yet filled with the weight of acceptance. "Commander Shira, it's over, Morak. They've outmaneuvered us at every turn. To resist further would be suicide." The room falls silent as her words sink in. The coalition forces have been reduced to remnants, their fleet now scattered and barely holding formation. General Corvo watches the scene unfold, a deep sadness in his eyes as he realizes the full extent of their defeat. "General Corvo, we were blind, too certain of our strength. We saw them as less, and now we pay the price for our arrogance." On the display, the human fleet halts its advance, surrounding the remaining coalition ships, but holding its fire, awaiting the coalition's next move. It is a silent but unmistakable signal. The humans have achieved complete dominance, and they await the coalition's surrender. The alien commanders glance at each other, understanding that their only option is submission. Finally, General Corvo takes a deep, shuddering breath and issues the order. "General Corvo, open a channel to the human fleet. It is time we acknowledge defeat." Communications Officer Drek nods solemnly and opens the channel. A familiar face appears on the main display. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, calm and composed as ever. The alien commanders look upon him with a mix of resentment and reluctant respect, their expressions shadowed by the weight of surrender. General Corvo, Lieutenant Commander Jameson, you have proven humanity's strength beyond doubt. We, the Coalition, formally surrender to the United Earth Fleet. Jameson nods, his face impassive, acknowledging their words with a solemn respect. His voice is calm, devoid of triumph or pride. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, General Corvo, your surrender is accepted. Humanity's objective was never conquest or destruction. We acted to secure peace and prevent further conflict. Your forces will be treated with honor. The alien commanders exchange glances, visibly surprised by his words. They had expected harsh terms, yet here is an offer of dignity. Commander Morak, still grappling with the weight of defeat, steps forward, unable to contain his frustration. Commander Morak, why show us mercy now? You could crush us completely, erase us from existence. Why stop? Jameson meets Morak's gaze, his expression unwavering. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, because we fight only to protect Commander, not to conquer. This war was never personal. It was a matter of necessity. With your surrender, the threat to our people is eliminated. Further destruction is needless. Commander Shira watches Jameson, her expression softening with a hint of reluctant admiration. She steps forward, speaking not out of anger, but out of genuine curiosity. Commander Shira, your approach is unlike any we have encountered. You fight with precision, yet you hold no malice. Is this the way all of humanity sees war? Jameson nods, his tone even almost gentle. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, we do what we must to ensure survival, but survival does not require cruelty. We value peace, even if we must sometimes fight to secure it. A silence follows, the weight of his words settling over the alien commanders. They realize that they are not only defeated, but also faced with a species that approaches war with a philosophy they cannot fully grasp. General Corvo, recognizing the depth of Jameson's words, lowers his gaze, humbled. General Corvo, Lieutenant Commander, you have taught us a lesson we will not soon forget. We came into this battle with pride, and you have shown us the power of restraint of purpose. Jameson offers a small nod, acknowledging Corvo's humility. Lieutenant Commander Jameson, perhaps one day, our paths will cross under different circumstances. Until then, we hope for peace between our people. The display goes dark as the transmission ends, leaving the Coalition commanders standing in silence, each lost in their thoughts. The finality of the surrender settles over them, heavy and undeniable. Commander Morak, the last to come to terms, bows his head, his pride shattered, but his spirit oddly uplifted by the humanity he has witnessed. Commander Morak, a species that fights without hate, perhaps there is something to learn from them after all. Shira places a hand on Morak's shoulder, a gesture of comfort. She nods, understanding the depth of what they have all experienced. Commander Shira, we were wrong to judge them by their size, by their simplicity. They've shown us that strength is more than just power. It's control, it's purpose. General Corvo, now composed, steps forward, his voice steady as he addresses his fellow commanders. General Corvo, let this defeat be a lesson. We must rebuild, yes, but we must also change. If we are to survive in this galaxy, we must adopt more than just their tactics. We must understand their strength of spirit. The alien commanders nod in agreement, their faces reflecting the humility of those who have witnessed greatness. They file out of the war room in silence, each one carrying with them the memory of the humans' approach to war, a lesson they are unlikely to forget. The scene ends with the Coalition fleet standing down, a solemn silence falling over the battlefield as humanity's forces pull back, having achieved victory without annihilation, with the galaxy now knowing the true resolve of humanity. The war room is empty now, the other commanders having dispersed, each carrying the weight of defeat. General Corvo stands alone, staring at the central display, which shows the final moments of the battle. Coalition ships, immobilized and humbled, surrounded by the human fleet. The image is still, almost frozen in time, as if preserving the lesson they've learned. Corvo's face reflects a profound mix of emotions: defeat, awe, and something else, a gnawing uncertainty that sits deep within him. He takes a slow breath, the silence of the empty room pressing in on him. In this quiet moment, he allows himself to think back on all that has transpired. General Corvo, we thought ourselves unmatched, invincible. And yet, humanity dismantled our strength with calm precision. They changed the course of this war in mere hours. He lets out a long, thoughtful sigh, his gaze distant as he tries to piece together the meaning behind humanity's victory. He recalls the controlled, methodical way the humans fought, not with the wild fury of a conqueror, but with the focused purpose of those who fight only when there is no other choice. General Corvo, they fought as if guided by something beyond strategy, a deeper resolve, as if survival itself demanded their every move. He thinks of Lieutenant Commander Jameson, the human officer whose calm confidence never wavered. Jameson's words echo in his mind: "This isn't personal for us. We act as required, with one goal: end any threat before it endangers us." Corvo shudders slightly at the memory, realizing that humanity's strength lies not just in their tactics, but in the unwavering certainty that drives them. General Corvo, they've redefined what it means to be a warrior, to fight without rage, to act without pride. This restraint, it is as if they have stripped away every weakness of spirit, leaving only purpose. He steps closer to the display, tracing a line along the holographic representation of the human fleet, his gaze fixed, his voice barely above a whisper. General Corvo, they are not conquerors, yet they have the power to conquer. They seek no territory, yet they wield the strength to shape entire systems. What, then, does it mean for our galaxy if such a force exists? The implications begin to settle over him, each realization heavier than the last. Humanity's power is not bound by traditional motives. Their goal was simply survival, yet their approach to warfare has left an indelible mark on the galaxy. He feels both awe and fear, recognizing that humanity's strength is not rooted in aggression, but in the unshakable focus on a singular purpose: survival at all costs. General Corvo, what would happen if humanity ever did seek conquest? If they unleashed this power without restraint? He shakes his head, forcing the thought aside, yet he cannot completely banish it. The potential of humanity's approach to warfare, an approach stripped of distraction and hesitation, fills him with an uneasy dread. Corvo realizes that the galaxy's rules have been forever altered. No longer can they view war through the same lens of pride and honor. Humanity's presence has transformed it into something else entirely. General Corvo, they have introduced a new way to fight, one that makes no room for ego, no tolerance for delay. We clung to our traditions, but they forged a path rooted only in necessity, and they have proven it to be unstoppable. He pauses, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond the command ship's window, realizing the far-reaching consequences. Humanity's restrained strength, their precision, their efficiency, they are a force that cannot be easily dismissed or underestimated. Corvo is left to ponder the meaning of their victory, not just for his people, but for the galaxy as a whole. The weight of these thoughts settles heavily on him. He thinks of future conflicts, of the galaxy's empires and alliances, all of whom will now have to confront this new standard of warfare. They will have to abandon the illusions of honor and pride, or risk defeat at the hands of those who fight without such constraints. General Corvo, perhaps they are what we all should strive to be, a force unclouded by doubt, guided only by purpose. Perhaps this is the ultimate strength. He lets the words linger in the silence, contemplating the idea of an entire galaxy reshaped by humanity's approach. He knows now that their presence cannot be ignored, that their influence will ripple through every alliance, every council, and every species that dares to stand against them. Corvo feels a chill, understanding that humanity's entry into this war was not just an isolated event. It was a shift that would resonate far into the future. His mind drifts to a vision of the future, one where humanity's influence has altered the course of galactic civilization itself. He sees alliances shifting, strategies evolving, all to adapt to the undeniable reality of humanity's strength. In this new order, old ways of thinking will crumble, replaced by a relentless drive for efficiency, adaptability, and precision. General Corvo, they have changed us all without meaning to. In their desire for survival, they have reshaped the rules of this galaxy. He straightens, a newfound respect deepening within him. Corvo knows that he must share this understanding with his people, that they must prepare for a new era. An era where survival trumps tradition, where purpose replaces pride. And he realizes, with a sense of inevitability, that the galaxy will never be the same. General Corvo, we cannot ignore them. We must learn from them, or risk being left behind, unable to withstand the future they have ushered in. The scene ends with Corvo standing alone in the war room, gazing out at the stars, the weight of this new reality pressing upon him. He understands now that humanity's arrival has forever altered the course of the galaxy's history, and as he stands in silent reflection, he knows he is witnessing the dawn of a new age in warfare, one that he cannot help but respect and fear.